Solar-Putty, the free multi-tab software that is an enhancement to Putty, has now been bundled with GNS3 from version 2.1.10. Have a look at my videos, which I've linked below if you want to learn more about Solar-Putty. In this video, I'm going to show you how to install GNS3 version 2.1.10 and show you how it leverages Solar-Putty. In this example, I've got a pre-release version of GNS3, version 2.1.10. Now, depending on when you're watching this video, version 2.1.10 of GNS3 will be available for download from the GNS3 website. You need to sign up for an account or log in with an existing account to download this version of GNS3. Now, at the time of this recording, I'm using a pre-release of version 2.1.10. So I've downloaded that from GNS3 and I'll start the installation process. So this version is 2.1.2008-0907, but it's essentially a development version of GNS3 version 2.1.10. So what I'm going to do now is go through this installation of GNS3 and show you how it differs from previous releases of GNS3. So on the installation wizard, I'm going to click Next. You need to agree to the GNU General Public License. GNS3 is free software, but you need to agree to the license to install it. So I'm going to click Agree. I'm going to use the defaults in this installation, so I'm going to choose the default GNS3 Start Menu folder and click Next. Now notice the difference in the components that are installed as part of GNS3. Scrolling down, you'll see Solar-Putty. By default, Solar-Putty is installed. You can uncheck this checkbox if you don't want to install Solar-Putty. But if you are installing a new version of GNS3, in other words, you are not upgrading GNS3, Solar-Putty is installed by default and becomes the default console application used in GNS3. If you're upgrading from a previous release of GNS3, Solar-Putty is by default installed, but doesn't become the default console application. Putty is still used as the default console application. Now, in all cases, Putty is still installed, so you don't have to use Solar-Putty if you don't want to. You can revert back to using Putty if you prefer using that. But there are some advantages to using Solar-Putty. Again, see my other videos, which I've linked below, if you want to learn about the advantages of Solar-Putty. So in my example, I'm simply going to stick with all the defaults and click Next. I'm going to install GNS3 in the default destination folder and click Install. GNS3 goes through an installation process, so I'm simply going to wait for GNS3 components to be installed and click Next, Next, Next if I'm asked at any point what I want to do. You can see here that Wireshark is being downloaded and installed. I can click Cancel if I don't want to install Wireshark, or I can cancel the installation if I'm having issues downloading Wireshark. But as you can see here, Wireshark is being installed by GNS3. Other GNS3 software is now being installed. Vert Viewer is being downloaded. So basically, the GNS3 developers have kept this process very simple. I just kickstarted the installation and the various software components are being downloaded and are being installed on my computer. Now note again, in this example, I uninstalled GNS3 before installing this version of GNS3. So this is kind of like a new installation of GNS3. I didn't do an upgrade. Vert Viewer is now being installed, and as you can see here in the background, Solar-Putty is being downloaded and is being installed. I need to agree to the Solar-Putty license agreement, which I can view by clicking on this link. I can also read the privacy notice. In my example, I'm going to accept those, and I'm going to put in my email address. Now, depending on where you are in the world, you can bypass the entering of your email address, but I'm going to add my email address here and click Continue. The advantage of putting your email address in is that you get some additional training information and other information from SolarWinds and GNS3. So at this point, GNS3 has now installed. I'm going to click Next. Optionally, I can download the SolarWinds standard toolset. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to click Next, and I'm going to click Finish to start GNS3. I'm going to click Cancel at this point because I don't want to go through the setup wizard. As you can see here, the GNS3 GUI has successfully installed and is running on my local computer. That's it. I've now got GNS3 installed on my Windows 10 computer. I'm using once again version 2.1.10, in this case a development version of the software. So now let's have a look at how Solar-Putty interacts with GNS3. I'm going to create a new GNS3 project called Solar-Putty. Okay, so I've got a new project opened. I'm going to go to Edit Preferences, and I'm going to go to Dynamips, iOS Routers, and click New to add an iOS router to my GNS3 topology. Now in this example, it's already picked up that I've got a 3725 image available. If you don't have an image available, click New Image and click Browse, and browse to where you've downloaded your iOS images and click Open to open the image, and then click Yes to decompress it. But in this example, I'm going to go back to using a 3725 image, and I'm going to click Next. I'm going to name this C3725 Local because I'm running these routers on the local installation of GNS3. I haven't got this GUI integrated with the GNS3 VM. So I'm going to click Next. Now to see the amount of RAM and flash that you require, click on Check Minimum and Maximum RAM Requirement. Click Image Name, and then paste in the image name. So going back to GNS3, this is the image that I'm using. So I'm going to type in the name, C3725, Advanced Enterprise, K9-MZ or MZ dot 12.4.15.T14.bin. Click Search for Images. Now this is a .image file because the image has already been extracted by GNS3, but when you select a new image, notice the extension is .bin. So back on the Cisco website, notice I need at least 256 meg of RAM and 64 meg of flash for this image. So those are my minimums. So back in GNS3, image is 3725, click Next. I'm going to call this C3725 Local again, click Next. Notice the minimum amount of RAM is 256 meg, not 128 meg. So I need to increase the amount of RAM on my routers. So 256 meg, click Next. I'm going to select some interfaces to use, click Next. Add some WIC cards to the router, click Next. Notice an idle PC value has been found by GNS3. It's important that you have an idle PC value. If one's not found, click Idle PC Finder. I'm going to click Finish and click OK. So under Routers now, Installed Appliances, I'm going to drag two routers to the GNS3 workspace, and I'll connect them using their fast Ethernet interfaces. So there are my two routers. I'll show labels, so click on Show Hide Labels to display the labels. I'll start the routers up, and now notice what happens when I click Console Connect to all nodes. Rather than Putty being launched here, notice Solar-Putty is launched. I have a connection to router 1 and to router 2 within Solar-Putty. I didn't have to do any integration here. The integration is automatic from version 2.1.10. Now again, this was a new installation of GNS3. I didn't have GNS3 installed previously on this PC. So Solar-Putty has been made the default. So under Edit, Preferences, Console Applications, notice Solar-Putty is the default. You can change that. Or you can right-click, click Custom Console, and use, for instance, Putty rather than Solar-Putty if you prefer using Putty instead of Solar-Putty. But notice I can have both open at the same time. So I can have Putty there and Solar-Putty here, and notice the commands are shown on both interfaces. All I've done at this point is configure an IP address on router 1. On router 2, I'll do something similar. Go on to fast Ethernet 00, no shut it, and give it an IP address of 10.112/24 mask. And hopefully at this point I should be able to ping router 1 from router 2. And there you go. Router 2 can ping router 1, and router 1 should be able to ping router 2, which it can. Output is displayed in Solar-Putty as well as in this example in Putty. I'm happy to use Solar-Putty, so I'm going to close Putty down. But notice multiple tabs are shown here. If I added another router to my topology, that would also be available through Solar-Putty. So I'll connect router 2 to router 3, start up router 3, and open up a console to router 3. And what we should see is that that console becomes available in Solar-Putty, which it has. So notice here, I'm now connected to router 3, as well as router 2 and router 1. Solar-Putty is nice because I have these various tabs. I can also change other settings in Solar-Putty by going to the menu and Settings. Going to General, I can change the fonts and colors of Solar-Putty by making changes to Putty. So as an example, I'll make the font 20, click Session, click Default Settings, click Save. Those changes will now affect Solar-Putty. So if I close Solar-Putty down and then click Console Connect to all nodes, notice Solar-Putty is opened and I have connections to my 3 routers. In this example, I'll reopen router 3 so I get the tabs in the right order. So I've got router 1, router 2, and router 3. And what you may notice now is the font is a lot bigger in Solar-Putty. So as an example, on router 3, I can now shut the interface and give this router an IP address, go back to router 2 and do something similar on fast Ethernet 01, so 10.1.2.1. Should be able to ping router 3 now, which I can, and then I could enable a routing protocol such as EIGRP here. I'll just do it that way. So router EIGRP 100 network like this. Show IP EIGRP neighbors. I've got a neighbor relationship from router 1 to router 2. Do something similar on router 3. Enable it this way. Neighbor relationship has come up. So hopefully router 2 can ping router 3, which it can. I can do a debug on router 3 to prove that. Debug IP ICMP. Go back to router 1. Ping router 3. And notice we see the output on the debug. So in summary, once again, Solar-Putty is installed as part of the GNS3 installation from version 2.1.10. SolarWinds RTV is no longer installed as part of GNS3. If it's a new installation of GNS3 or you've removed GNS3 and then installed GNS3 again, the default application is Solar-Putty. If, however, you've upgraded GNS3, the default application is the one that you've previously used. You have to manually specify that Solar-Putty becomes the new default. It was decided not to change defaults because some people wouldn't want their defaults changed when doing an upgrade. Now, as always, the last step when creating topologies in GNS3 is to save your device configurations. So I'm going to use WR here, which is a shorthand for copy running config startup config. My GNS3 configs have now been saved, so I can shut GNS3 down. Now again, Solar-Putty is free software. You can download it if you want using the links below if you've got an older version of GNS3. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like it and please subscribe to my YouTube channel. I want to wish you all the very best.